I'll read you a poem I wrote during the Second World War. I was living in Boston. It's called The Song of the Tortured Girl. And it's about a heroine of the French resistance, captured by the Gestapo and tortured in various ways to death without giving up any names. After a little, I could not have told, but no one asked me this, why I was there. I asked. The ceiling of that place was high, and there were sudden noises, which I made. I must have stayed there a long time today. My cup of soup was gone when they brought me back. Often, nothing worse now can come to us, I thought. The winter the young men stayed away. My uncle died, and the mother cracked her crutch. And then the strange room where the brightest light does not shine on the strange men shines on me. I feel them stretch my youth, throw a switch. Through leafless branches, sweet wind blows, making a mild sound softer than a moan. High in a pass once where we put our tent, minutes I lay awake to hear my joy. I no longer remember what they want. Minutes I lay awake to hear my joy.
Brockport Writers Forum, in a continuing series of discussions with leading literary figures, presents The Poetry of John Berryman. Author of numerous collections spanning several decades, a respected critic, and recipient of the Bollingen Prize, the National Book Award, and the Pulitzer Prize for Poetry, John Berryman is currently a professor of English at the University of Minnesota. Discussing Mr. Berryman's works are Jerome Mazzaro, a widely published poet and critic, and professor of English at the State University of New York at Buffalo, and the host of the Writers' Forum, and author of a recent collection of poems and of many essays on contemporary American poets, William Hayen.
You look good on it. Don't scream.
Mr. Berryman, the poem you just read, The Song of the Tortured Girl, it's terribly powerful and rending poem, I think. You know, later on, Yeats would write the Crazy Jane poems. And
before.
This is before your poem?
Yes.
Well, that's fine, and tell me.
Suppose there's any connection.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Well, I thought those poems were marvelous.
What made you decide to go into the business of poetry?
Well, I always planned to be a writer. I manifested my sincerity by writing half a science fiction novel at the age of 12. And this was published by a rather tall girl named Helen Justice. And she thought I was wonderful. And I liked her very much, but she was too tall. Besides, I was in love with Charlotte Coquet. But anyway, she had a marvelous Spencerian handwriting. And she took my manuscript and put half inside brown paper cover with the title of the book, which I forget. It was about a trip to Neptune. One of the few sensible things that I've ever done. I had begun to publish in the National Magazine as an undergraduate at Columbia. And I went abroad to it. And I knew my stuff was viable and so forth, but it was no good. So I decided not to print anything for 2 years. And didn't. Then Rob Penwarren, who was running Southern Review, did a group of 4 Point. And Partisan did some, Delmore took them. And Mr. Ransom had set up the Kindle, and he wrote and asked me for stuff. So I was in bed, as I told you, about 4:15 last night. Believe in apprenticeship. Suppose I want to be a composer and write piano concerti. I don't buy some music paper and sit down. I don't know what an oboe can do. Nothing? Okay. So, we serve an apprenticeship. My second wife and I once were walking down Hannaford Avenue in Minneapolis one evening in the direction of a bar. And we decided that the names that we disliked most were feminine, Mabel, and masculine, Henry. So, in an affectionate, sweet way, we began to, I would call her Mabel and she would call me Henry. That's where the name started. About the camera time, somebody quoted me as saying there's a fiendish resemblance between Henry and me. But of course it's not me. My foot is killing me. I have to take off my shoe.
That'll censor us.
Anybody who lives past 35 or 40 must expect to have his friends drop dead. But I think I've been unusually unlucky. My friends have wiped themselves out in large numbers. Some, Thomas died in alcoholic shock. Ted and Delmore died of heart attacks, but they were both alcoholics. My best friend, a young poet named Ben Campbell, he was 3 years older than me, but I was very much ahead of him. And his wife. We set up housekeeping. We shared an apartment. Then Harvard asked me, come and that Thanksgiving I flew out to try to see Campbell. He had about 10 days to live. And he was completely irrational. Grinned at me all the time, looking like his own corpse. and telling me not to worry, everything will be all right. As a TB patient, he was dying of cancer. What he had was embryonal adenocarcinoma grade 4. And it wiped him out in about 3 months. You must ask me a question. Otherwise I'll ramble. Okay. Life is hard on everybody. Perhaps especially so on the artist. I don't know. Anyway, he has to record it. Most people don't.
Does art in the end mean some kind of human affirmation? Does it have to? Is that part and parcel of it?
Oh, I don't know. I am incredibly doubtful. All I have to do is think about Samuel Beckett. A mind so dark that it makes you wonder if the Renaissance really took place.
Well, your new book is going to be called Love and Fame.
Yeah.
And we've talked mainly about your writing, but the love part, as I said, you write an awful lot about love in your poetry, too.
Give me a lot of trouble. For example, you fall in love with somebody and pretty soon you say, will you marry me? And she says, yes. So you're married. That's part of your biography. I married 3 women. I've screwed infinite numbers of them. And had maybe even 7 or 8 very serious affairs. I thought, as I got old, that this interest in women would diminish or leave me. What's up? What's up? Still waiting. I wouldn't have trusted myself alone with your wife last night. She's too attractive.
Well, I don't trust you, but I trust my wife.
Oh, absolutely sure that you can. And you can also trust me, because now I wouldn't go behind your back.
Jerry?
Yes.
Thank you very much for being with us again. I'm afraid our time is over. Mr. Berryman, it has indeed been a pleasure. Thank you very much for being with us today.